This is my interpretation of one of Mary Cassatt's printed designs, the Toilette, in my own color scheme and palette. You'll see a few of Degas' pieces pop up here as well because they were close friends and he was a kind of mentor to her. Like, they would bounce ideas off of each other, and her style was completely different from his, but they would share ideas and their paintings with each other. And he did like maybe over 100 pieces just of her. So they were really close. And I find it really interesting that a lot of her paintings are of this like domesticated life, mothers, children, women in different scenes doing their everyday domesticated life type stuff. And she actually never married or had children because she didn't want it to complicate her career. She was one of the only women in the Impressionist group that Degas was a founding member of, and they would have independent exhibitions. And she actually because she had a lot of trouble exhibiting her work herself because she was a woman. I just find it really interesting too that with her paintings being what they are, her lifestyle being so opposite of that, so single, independent, very into her career. And honestly, it just makes me think of this lie that we've been sold of the fairy tale ending of this fantastical relationship that we might find ourselves in at some point where, we are deeply engrossed in this fanciful life with a man, as if that is something that we should seek after, something that we should aspire to. And there aren't a lot of her paintings that show like the relationship aspect, but more it's more geared toward women and the setting that they are placed in. And I feel like in them, in a very subtle way, you can sense this very um quiet way of showing this type of freedom that she had in being independent and on her own in her artistry. And I find it also very inspiring that this freedom was coupled with a lot of complication in her trying to exhibit her work and doing different things as a woman. She had a lot of limitation, but she didn't let that pressure her into ever having a man. She just found ways around it and figured out how to navigate that space on her own. She was living through the 1800s with these limitations as a woman. And when you think about our present day era and how not so far removed we are from these limitations, it's actually insane that in the last 200 or so years, we're still trying to navigate different aspects of life as a single woman in our present day era. Whether you're trying to buy a house or fix your car or travel alone or do anything that someone wouldn't really question a man to do on their own. Mary Cassatt couldn't actually attend the official School of Fine Art because it was only for men. And in the classes that she did take, she wasn't allowed to use live nude models because that was absolutely inappropriate for a woman to do. Her subject matter in these domesticated spaces were because women weren't really allowed to go hang out at cafes, clubs, or like sit in the street and paint because that was societally inappropriate and unheard of. So she had to stick with the private lives of women. Because her subject matter was too feminine for a lot of different groups, these art groups, she wasn't invited into many of them. Degas got her into the Impressionist group, and they were more independent. They were more kind of like a community DIY oriented type group that were going against the grain in art anyway, so they were able to have her in that. But I don't think they ever invited any other woman into that group. It was really hard for women to get into these art society groups. But even within that group, there were a lot of public events that she wasn't able to attend, like the opera. So different type of public facing situations she wasn't able to participate in. A lot of the exhibitions that she did participate in, she used to raise funding for the suffrage movement and different political causes that basically were aimed toward women's rights. So, with all of these different things that she did to navigate her life and her limitations in this space and focus on her career, I chose her and her work to recreate with my own palette, and it just really resonates with me and how I'm navigating different spaces and the way that in our current society we're still faced with these limiting ideas of women, and especially when they're single and childless. And I really feel like the colors that I choose really lean into this idea as well. My bright, bold colors that it could be a feminine aspect of my work, but it's also very harsh in a lot of ways. And where in a lot of areas of my work, maybe I should have used neutrals or something more muted, but I always attack it with these bright, bold, vibrant colors instead. And I don't know if that makes it more feminine or masculine or what it does, but I feel like in a way it's a kind of feminine aspect of my work that I really push and try to exaggerate whatever I'm looking at with these really vibrant colors. Because you can see the original here, and the colors that she had were very muted and kind of more gentle, and I came to it with something a lot more extravagant. Even my line work is kind of not very like delicate. I did a few of these where I was recreating different famous pieces and from famous artists, and that is usually what I'm looking at is the way that the piece itself resonates with me, and then I wind up finding out later that the artist also, like, their lifestyle, their ideals were also resonate a lot with me. And it's kind of easy to find when you really inspect these pieces. You can still find this print in my store if you'd like to purchase one. They come in 8.5 by 11 and 12 by 18. Subscribe if you want to hear more about my other pieces that I've done.